What is up, Battle Union fans, and welcome to the Power Rankings number 8 post Week 7 with your two analysts, myself, Schady,
and myself, Shroomraver. Hello there, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, as Schady has said, for the Power Rankings following the Week 7 games. Some very interesting results from those games, and yeah, we're just going to present to you our list, and as we say every week, very important to maintain saying that these are just our opinions. This is just how we see the various coaches placed in terms of how well they've done, both in this week just gone, and sort of as a whole in comparison to how they've been performing and team building throughout the season. So yeah, these are just our opinions. As always, feel free to massively disagree with them in every way, shape and form. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below, whether you think we are correct or whether you think we are fools.
Yeah, just put our number 12 at number 1 and number 1 at number 12, if that's your opinion. Just
there
give us a reason.
Speaking of...
We're down with everything.
Speaking of that number 12 position, I think we're just going to crack on with...
things are getting kind of stale now.
With the rankings. Yeah, we're getting a lot of similar results.
Things are getting set at this point.
Yeah, it's all sort of matching up fairly well. So, as we say, at number 12, we have the same result, and that is going to be Jedi Cadet and the Highland Houndooms, coming back from a little sort of sojourn away from management, and came back to a 6-0 drubbing from Gabe and the LA Galaxy. Yeah, not his finest hour. He was once again trying out some different stuff. I mean, he was going into the game at 1-5, so really, you know, he knows he has nothing to lose, so he may as well try these sort of strange sets out. So we saw manual rain on Blastoise, which was an intriguing one. You know, I'm all for manual weather setters. Wasn't sure how much it was doing for his team this particular time.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was looking for that 100% accurate Hurricane, but not really doing too much against Gabriel's team, other than I think we mentioned against the Chesnaught, it would have done a lot of damage.
Yeah, which doesn't die, which dies to a Fire Dance.
Yeah, Fire Dance would be doing plenty of damage to that anyway. So possibly not the greatest of moves on his part to be running rain there. But he did have a lot of flying coverage. He had HP flying Rotom, which was actually a nice idea, because obviously Chesnaught can switch into Rotom Wash all day, every day, other than maybe if it was a Will-O-Wisping one, but I believe this one was choiced, I think.
Yep.
So HP flying, very nice idea there. You know, he's been working on his speed tiers, looking to sort of perfect speed EV investment.
Yep.
Speaking of, you know, he had some good ones, but then we had the weirdest Scarf duo of all time. In the form of Skuntank and Mr. Mime. The Mr. Mime set was nice, you know, Scarfed Healing Wish, that's always a nice thing to have, and Soundproof for the Altaria was a good shout.
Just in case.
Just in case of hyper voicing. Then there was the Skuntank, wasn't there?
Yeah, no speed Skuntank with mixed attacking sets, max attack, max special attack. I get that this is a Scarf run, you don't need max speed most of the time, but no speed is kind of not smart. You need like a specific EV to outspeed something, and then you're good. You can pack everything in attack, special attack. Let's say enough special attack to 2-hit KO, heat run, special defensive, which I don't think you need any. It's a Skuntank and it's a heat run. So you probably need that and all that stuff. Speed investment on a Scarfer is necessary, unless it's Scarf Ninjask.
Scarf Ninjas, there it is. I mean, I guess Gabriel doesn't have a lot of absolute raw speed on his team, so I haven't done the calcs on a Skuntank. It's not a Pokemon I'm particularly familiar with speed tier wise. There is a possibility that he wouldn't have needed any speed investment to outspeed non-Scarfed Mons on Gabriel's team, but that's the kind of thing you want to look into and really sort out. It's always nice to have those speed things, those speed EVs, just in case. Yeah, Ambipom is sort of one of the big speedsters on Gabriel's team. But yeah, it was still interesting to see that dual Scarf core. They had a few problems in battle. You know, losing Volcarona meant he just had so little for a Scavalier. I still think one of the grass types would have been nice. You know, something that could pack a very strong hidden power fire if needs be, as well as of course that big grass stab for the likes of a Azumarill, and things like Gliscor, which you could hit neutrally as well. But you know, Jedi's doing his thing. He's sitting at 1-6 right now, so he's got so much room to play with his sets, and kind of mess around with it and try some really unexpected things. One of Gabriel's great strengths is his ability to predict teams very, very accurately, and you know, that's something he would have had a bit of an issue with, I imagine, with Jedi's team. That is one advantage that I think Jedi was probably trying to play on. Didn't quite work out for him, but you know, this is Jedi. He's going to be running his weird stuff, and sometimes it is going to work. Unfortunately, as with many gimmicks, there are going to be times where it doesn't, and I'm afraid this was just one of those times.
Yeah. I don't think Rain Dance on Blasters is generally a good idea unless you have something that can actually benefit it and kind of needs it. Volkrona is better off without the Rain in this case.
Yeah.
This is very matchup dependent, of course, but in this matchup, Hurricane just, like you said, didn't do anything. But he had Quiver Dance, but I think Bug Buzz over Hurricane would have been nice. Even Roost could have been helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, Volkrona was pretty much his win condition, and as got paralyzed from the by the Rotom, it was pretty much over at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. Kind of unfortunate. Scarfed T-Wave Rotom, I think is what it was.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Kind of gave him a little bit of a problem there.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's we'll be sort of talking about Gabe, of course, later on, and the various other sets he had. So moving on from number 12, we move up to position 11 on our tables, and that is going to be Sizzawesome and the Somerset Sizzles, who took that 3-0 loss to Blastburn Rovers. Some interesting team building choices, I think, from Sizz that could have been played a little bit differently. He didn't bring the Vaporeon, which instantly meant that Mamo was an issue.
As well as
Typhlosion. And, you know, Kyle will have seen that straight off the bat. I imagine as soon as he saw no Vaporeon, that would have been a weight off his mind. Because Mamo and Typhlosion were suddenly very, very big players for him. And, you know, they came through. They certainly did. With Vaporeon there, it could have been a little bit different. I also think it would have been nice for him to visit his bench for the first time. And probably I would have grabbed Cloyster. Because Cloyster, if it was allowed to be set up, it would have run through Kyle's team. Really would have.
Or even the defense one could have dealt with Memo very well.
It could well have done.
They could, you know, go in either way.
Yeah, so that was possibly not his best of decisions not to bring either of those. But some of the things he did bring, he managed to use very well. I enjoyed how he played Torkoal against the Excadrill, learning his lessons, as we mentioned a couple of days ago. From week 1, that matchup versus the Empoleon, he lost, but the matchup versus Excadrill, he very much won. So that was very nice, able to keep his rocks up, which is what he really wanted.
I still have a problem with that, because he's pretty much sacked Torkoal at that point, because it couldn't do anything the rest of the match. Which would have been kind of nice, as I think his only fire resistance on the team?
I could be wrong.
I think so. So it would have been nice to just be a check to Typhlosion of sorts.
And Tangrowth.
And Tangrowth, of course. And if it was like an offensive Excadrill, it could have hurt Torkoal a lot. Also, unfortunately, we have to mention that he missed a Will-O-Wisp on the first turn, which let him take more damage.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
But, you know, I think he should have maybe preserved it a bit better. But at least he came out on top in that matchup. So
yeah, he did. And he was unfortunate to lose Mega Lopunny as early as he did. Not really predicting the Scarf Togekiss to be out for the Rovers, which is something that you do really want to look at, because Scarf Togekiss is very much a thing.
Especially when there's a Lopunny.
Especially when there is such a massive fighting type threat, as we say, as Mega Lopunny. So that was a problem for him. He lost
speaking about Mega Lopunny, he did the fake out thing again.
Yeah, he did.
Just clicking fake out against the Mamoswine, which showed it was Life Orb. You can just like fighting step and knocked it out. He didn't probably even return. I'm not sure on the calcs on that. But he clicked fake out because that's just the illness that many Mega Lopunny users have.
Yeah.
Just click fake out because it's fake out. It's free damage, but you don't always need free damage. You need a lot of
big
damage. Because Mamo's not going to stay in. It's just not.
Yeah, very much. Shout out also to Special Registeel, by the way.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. Flash Cannon and Ancient Power, along with a couple of other moves. I forget the other moves. I think Thunderwave might well have been one, and probably Rocks.
Yeah.
No, of course he wasn't running Rocks. He was running Rocks on Torkoal.
Yeah. I'm not sure why he had Special Registeel. What it does more than, I guess against Tangrowth it does more damage. So
I think it's got base 75 in both.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
That's
So
why-
yeah, I can see why he was doing that.
Yeah.
Tangrowth is happily switches into most Registeels.
Yeah.
But I suppose this one could do a little bit more damage to it.
Yeah. I also, first thing I realized when I looked at Steam was, where are the Mamoswine switch-ins? Your
yeah.
team is so weak to Mamoswine, you have nothing that can switch into it? I don't think I agree with that. I mean, Grammar was, I think, Assault Vest. That's why I took the hit from Typhlosion. I
Yeah.
could be wrong because he didn't upload the video, so I just assumed it was Assault Vest, so it wasn't the perfect thing to take on Mamoswine.
Yeah, I mean, the things he had that would take a hit, you're looking basically Registeel can probably take one, but not well. Gramble is the thing. Vaporeon wasn't there. Cloyster was on the bench, and even probably Durant might have taken it fairly effectively. But say those two, Cloyster and Durant, remaining on the bench for Sizz, which in this instance really didn't help him out too much. It would have been nice, I think, would have been beneficial for him to visit the bench. We have to see when he is. I think he's the only one so far who is yet to visit the bench and take anything off it.
I think so, yeah. So, might want to do that.
Quite possibly.
So I guess we're going to move on now.
Yeah, on to position 10, which is going to be for both of us, Squirtacular, Josh, and the Kentucky Kecleons.
Yep.
Taking the 2-0 loss to Enzo and the Mighty Swiskers.
The Mighty Swiskers.
The Mighty Swiskers.
Shroom fanboy confirmed.
Well, they are fairly mighty. They are fairly mighty. But we'll come on to the Swiskers when we do. Back to the Kecleons. A few team building issues I have. Sword Stance, Baton Pass. I keep forgetting it. NASCAR bug.
Scolipede.
Scolipede. Literally every time I forget Scolipede's name. Every time, and I don't know why. Anyway, Josh had Sword Stance, Speed Boost, Baton Pass, of course, but his only physical receiver was a Megazard X that had Dragon Dance. I wasn't sure about that. I wasn't sure. It just seemed somewhat counterproductive to me, and that he could have been running either coverage on the Zards or another physical attacker to accept the boosts from Scully.
Or run a different Scolipede set, of course.
Or that, yeah, absolutely. He could have run just full offense on Scully with Swords Dance 3 attacks, maybe. That could have been nice. He was very, very heavily prepped for a physical Victini, which was not forthcoming. Not forthcoming at all. Enzo was one step ahead there, but as I say, we'll come on to that later. So there was not really much in the way of a Spadef wall for the Kecleons, and it really hurt him when you're looking at Special Victini and, of course, Thunderous, who is a monstrous special attacker.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't really have too much for either of them. There were some things he played well. He played Raikou pretty well, I thought. But it was a bit too little, too late. I would have liked to see defensive Zardex personally.
Yep. Like a mixed defensive set to take on both Victini spreads.
Yeah, very much.
Because Zardex is pretty solid in that regard.
Absolutely.
Because it's bulky as hell.
But yeah, it was just an unfortunate case of prepping for the wrong things. Well, the right things, but the wrong sets, I think. He was also going up against a team with a couple of Volt Switchers, and he didn't bring Nidoking, which I thought, not sure about that. But that was sort of the least thing I would pick up on there.
Yeah, that's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in that unfortunate position of not playing badly, but not getting those wins, which is unfortunate. It's a saddening thing to see. And it still wouldn't be nice to see Zardex do something massive. But there's a few more games in the season, so we'll have to see if he does manage to pull that out of the bag.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Absolutely.
I love Zardex. It's just kind of not working.
Yeah, it's just it's so, for whatever reason, it's just difficult to make work.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. It shouldn't be. On paper, it's fantastic.
Flare Blitz and be done.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with not much more to say on the Kentucky Kecleons, we're going to move on to number 9 on the list, which again for both of us is the same. It's going to be Eric, Ashton Akai, and the Bristol City Fletchlings, who took the 2-0 loss to Xenon and the Slovenian Arcanines.
Yeah. First thing I want to mention is counter toxic Chansey. I think we touched on it in the Union News, but gotta do it again.
Yeah.
I think it kind of gets walled by things, and those things being Dragalge and Amoonguss.
Yeah.
Now they can't do much in return, but still you can't do anything which leads to PP stall war or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you having to switch into a Dragalge, which you kind of don't want to do too often. I mean, you had the Dusclops for it, so I was kind of there. But I don't see much point in counter against Xenon's team. I don't see a lot that chances to benefit. I mean, Mega Scissor, yes, but Mega Scissor can also just set up on...
Yeah, I mean, that Chansey just became absolute setup. Well, it could have become absolute setup for Mega Scissor. Yeah,
and at +4, 6, whatever, it just destroys Chansey, and counter's not going to save you.
Yeah.
So it kind of bugged me. Speaking of bugging me, in Mega, I'm so
there
good.
It is.
I would have liked the spec set with Tilted Lens, because kind of it kills the entirety of Xenon's team after Stealth Rocks.
Yeah.
I think I did the calcs for most things. But Speed Boost is still fair enough. It's just something that I kind of would have liked. But he already had like a wall breaker thing, and Mian Shadow just destroys everything ever, and it's beautiful. So I guess it's fair, but I would just liked it because it's cool. Because Xenon's team is the one team where you can actually bring to the lands, because it's very, very slow.
Yeah.
Only thing that outspeeds is Keldeo. The only thing that speed ties is Arcanine. So yeah, that's that. But Speed Boost, it still came through. It was pretty much one of his MVPs in this game.
Yeah.
So it's still fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the spec set might have been nice. I mean, I would have liked to see a sort of useful hidden power going on there. Maybe fire for the Sizzle. Maybe something to hit the Arcanine as well. I'm not sure if Air Slash would still do more. I'd have to run the calcs. I'm not sure, but there was some team building decisions I really liked on his side. Scarf Tentacruel.
Yes.
Was something I really liked, and it was just such a shame that it went down turn 1, and that was mainly due to equally excellent team building ideas from Xenon, which we will come on to in a little bit. Yeah, basically Tentacruel looked to be putting in a massive amount of work, but unfortunately, just due to a decision that Xenon made, it went down turn 1, and that meant really that Eric had nothing for Keldeo. Tentacruel is a very, very effective stop to Keldeo, with massive base 120 special defense.
Yes,
I think on Tentacruel, resistant to both stabs. Unless it's got a lot of boost behind it, Hidden Power Electric is not going to be doing enough. And
Secret Sword does more.
Yeah, and Tentacruel can just wear it down, and it can get back that health with Giga Drain, of course. Losing Tentacruel so early was an issue, because especially without Talonflame, he had no priority to take out the Keldeo. So Keldeo was always going to be a bit of an issue for him. But yeah, I liked that Tentacruel. It was a potentially excellent thing. Dusclops, that was an interesting set as well. Sort of future sighting Trapper.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Future Sight was the best decision. Nightshade / Seismic Toss could have been, better potentially. But I don't know. Future Sight is cool, so I'm not complaining.
We briefly touched, of course, on Banded Adamant Mienshao, which is gross.
It's so beautiful. It makes me so happy.
It's disgustingly, toe-curlingly powerful.
It makes me feel warm inside. It's amazing.
It makes a lot of other mons feel dead inside and outside, because it just takes
and in general.
Yes.
On a spiritual level.
The only other thing really to say about Eric, pay attention to the rules, my friends. You have to make a turn 1.
Yep.
And Ordino didn't, twice, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were reasons why he wouldn't want to Mega at that point. I believe he was in against a Scizor. Bullet Punch is, of course, a thing. But rules are rules.
Yeah.
Not that it came into too much play. I think, actually, it might have meant that the scoreline changed from a 2-0 to a 3-0 as a sort of penalty. But it didn't change the game an inordinate amount. Just something for coaches to bear in mind in the future.
Yep.
So I think we are going to move on now, indeed, to position 8 on the table.
Yep.
Which again,
power rankings.
Both of us, in the power ranking table, yes, indeed. For the both of us, is going to be Richie of the Liverpool FC, who went in and managed to grab a 2-0 victory over the Welshions and Fredo. Yeah, I liked a lot of his team building. I liked Nice and Habanberry on
Yes.
or Habanberry, however you want to say it, on Kieran Black, prepping for that scarfed Garchomp.
Oh, God. Yeah.
We'll come on to Fredo's Garchomp in a little bit, because that was interesting in and of itself. He brought the AV Milotic again, but this time
it was fair.
It was a fair decision. You know, he was looking at a much more offensive build, and it put in a vast amount of work, taking out a couple of mons. I think did it take out 2 or 3?
Enough.
enough to have been successful.
Yeah.
And you know, he kind of needed to bring something especially offensive, because he just brought so much physical offense. It was brutal, the amount of physical offense he brought.
To be expected from his team.
Very much so. Very much so. He did take, you know, the risk of leaving Milo in on Celebi, but it worked out, managing to get that actually fairly fortunate stat drop, which allowed him to get a +2 in special attack with the competitive, and just bop Celebi with an Ice Beam, which was nice. That worked out fairly well.
And then chewing a close combat from Infernape and just destroying its soul with a Hydro Pump.
I mean, that was something very special to see. There were some very, very unexpected chews on Richie's team. That being one of them, tanking a close combat from an Infernape, and then Golbat taking a Volt Switch from a Mega Manectric
pretty well,
fairly comfortably. I mean, Golbat is gross.
Shout out to Golbat.
Golbat is just
a man.
Such a beast when it comes to defense. I mean, when you're a flying type, you don't just casually take a Volt Switch from a Mega Manectric, unless you're called Golbat, and then you're just like, I can take it.
That's a thing that happened.
Yeah, it was very, very well done indeed. You know, nice team build from him in this game. Just you know, didn't see too. The reason he's not moving up more is just because of the positionings of other people. You know, some people above him have moved down. We didn't move people like way too far down, because it would have been unfair to the performances they did give in their battles, whether they won or lost. And that sort of is the reason why Richie is still at 8, and indeed why number 7 on our list.
Calm down, sir.
Is going to be who it is, but we're not going to go on to that yet, because Schady has something to say.
I've just one little misplay. I think I mentioned it already, but just one thing, that he E-speeded the Mega Manectric, which was still at decent health.
Yeah.
When there was no switch into Sacred Fire. I don't know why he did that. Sacred Fire is almost the same as E-speed. It's a bit of difference, 5 base power. To Garchomp. So, and you can get a burn. Burns are nice, especially on a Garchomp. So if he should have just clicked Sacred Fire, gotten off more damage on everything except for Garchomp, gotten a burn on Garchomp, because there were no Sacred Fire switch-ins. Just not at all.
Not at all. I mean, you don't just, as we say, you don't just casually switch into a Sacred Fire from an Entei.
Yeah.
You got to be a certain breed to be able to take those kind of hits.
Yep.
Which unfortunately Fredo did not have. But yeah, that was just one of the tiny misplays that Richie made. But other than that, played a very solid game.
Quick, it's a small thing that didn't really matter. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think now we're going to move on to 7.
Yeah. Now we can.
Now indeed we can move on to number 7, and number 7 is in fact going to be Richie's opponent, Fredo and the Welshions. As we said, not wanting to move Fredo like massively far down from where he was previously, because he
dropped him 3 spots already.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be too nasty to him, you know.
He's still good, but you know.
Yeah, pretty much. Looking at the team, he brought some interesting defensive decisions. No Empoleon was something that I wasn't entirely sure about, and no Wheezing,
and no Entei switch-ins.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was really questioning when I saw the team, like, that there was no Wheezing there. I was like, he's got so much physical power. Bring everything you can. I mean, especially when you've got a Mega Mawile sitting there.
Yeah, to be fair, Mega Mawile is the only thing it really safely walls, because Kyurem has, of course, Earth Power, which
that is true.
But,
I mean, if you've got something that can safely wall a Mega Mawile, you bring it.
Quote unquote safely, it's a Mega Mawile.
fairly effectively, shall we say.
Yeah. There we go.
fairly effectively and can get a burn off, and you know it just would have been a nice sort of pseudo safety net. I think it would have done him a good service to have it.
Definitely.
Other than that, I mean, we saw Surf Chomp.
Garchomp.
That was interesting. I enjoyed that. Presumably for the Rhyperior.
Just kind of didn't do anything.
Yeah, it just didn't really come off as well as I think he would have liked it.
It did like literally 0 to a Rhyperior.
I mean, not literally.
I mean, it's 4 times effective, and you should kind of more.
Rhyperior is fairly bulky. Was it fully specially defensive Ripe?
I don't remember.
I forget it. I feel like it might have been
And
fully
Ice Punch.
Spidef Assault Vest.
And Ice Punch. So
It did have Ice Punch, which was nice.
Garchomp kind of died.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Rhyperior put in a nice amount of work against Garchomp. Yeah, Frito just didn't really bring the right sort of things. He didn't have the right powerhouses to break Richie's team. He didn't have the right mons to take hits from Richie's powerhouses. It just wasn't a great matchup for him.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, he just didn't have the best of matchups.
Yeah, it was always going to be a bit of an uphill struggle for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not really too much else to say on Frito there. So we're going to move on up to position 6 on the table, on the power rankings table, I should clarify. And that is going to be Xenon of the Slovenian Arcanines, who, of course, as we mentioned, took that 2-0 or by penalty 3-0 victory over Eric and the Bristol City Fletchlings. He had some very, very intriguing sets. Once again, going pretty Xenon on his opponent. The Crocodile set. We mentioned that Eric's Tentacruel didn't really get a chance to shine, and this was the reason. This was a max HP Crocodile, which had Tangaberry in order to deal with Lead Yan Mega, and it worked out because the Tentacruel lead-off, the big Scarfed Hydropod from Tentacruel, unable to take him out because of that HP investment. So he was just able to go straight up for Earthquake and remove one of the big stops to his Keldeo. So that was a very nice start for him.
Shows you how weak Tentacruel offensively unfortunately is.
Yeah, it's just not, I think, base 80 special attack.
80 special attack.
It's just not, it's a cool idea, and it's nice when it works, but it just does lack that raw power.
A cool idea, because it was from Tentac... Okay, I'm gonna go now.
I mean, you tried. Not bad. Nice and shardy humour going on there.
That was not my humor, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
It's the same. Anyway.
You know, but as much as I liked that Crocodile set on Xenon's team, there were some that I wasn't sure about. The Keldeo brought Psych up.
Which is cool.
Which is cool because you know he was looking to presumably grab those speed boosts from potential speed boost Yan Mega,
which won't ever work.
Yeah, because it'll always be one step ahead of you. But he paired it with Calm Mind,
which means is to get rid of your boosts.
Hugely counterproductive. Not something that actually really came into play in the game, but it could have been quite counterproductive.
It would have been nice against the Mega Audino if it would set up Calm Minds.
Yes,
just come
that
in,
is true.
Copied it, and then just Secret Sword him to death. I think that was his main plan, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But against the Omega, which was also a thing he had in mind, it would have never worked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, other decisions. I'll talk about his T-Spikes decision, and then I'm sure Schady has one thing he wants to say about that. You know, T-Spikes versus a team with Tentacruel, 2 potential Clerics, and 4 immunities. Not sure. I mean, I presume that there were specific things he would have wanted T-Spikes for. You know, a couple of layers will do nasty things to a Dusclops. Not that he was. No, I think the Dusclops was packing Rest.
Yep.
So it wouldn't have been that great. But I wasn't sure about the T-Spikes, and the point about T-Spikes and Dragalge's ability.
Yeah, you can have adaptability with T-Spikes. There's no reason why you wouldn't, because it's both 6-gem stuff. Yeah, I think running Toxic over T-Spikes would have been a lot better, just because it's reliable, and you don't have to, risk them getting spun away or getting, in Tentacle Squares just absorbed. So yeah, Toxic would have been nice. It's reliable. You can get guaranteed Toxic Poison or whatever it's called. Badly Poison. There it is. Whatever. Instead of, just get one T-Spike up and stuff and things. Yeah. But I guess one T-Spike is nice for something like Mian Xiao, because you get 12% every time if it's not Regenerator, which it wasn't.
Yeah.
was the old reckless. So I guess that's fair, but yeah, I'm not sure if I 100% agree with it.
I mean, the only other team building decision I would have liked to have seen was Taunt on Crocodile, which I don't think he was packing, but Taunt on Crocodile could have done a lot of work.
Taunt in general.
Yeah, very much Taunt in general is nice against the Bristol City Fletchlings. You know, we've said it before, that sort of chancy Ordino core that he's got going on is very nice to try and taunt. And now that he's locked Gligar in as well, that is something that could be equally nice. But as it was, he had a very nice Crocodile set, and you know, he was very much able to make the play of SDing on Yanmega's Protect, which, you know, allowed him to just sweep up the rest of the team. So good decision making by him there.
Oh yeah, Protect. That was unnecessary on Eric's part. I forgot to mention that. That was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, it just allowed him to get that Swords Dance up and just deal all of the damage to all of the rest of his team.
Yeah, nice mix, doing his job.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as we said early on in the season when Xenon wasn't doing so well, he's going to get back into it, and he very much has. Now sitting at 4-3 after a fairly disastrous first couple of weeks, which left him rooted towards the bottom of the table. He's now really picked up the pace and is looking really good.
Yep.
So, with that being said, we move on to position 5, and for the first time, we are in fact going to be disagreeing in our power rankings. Nice and sound effects from Schady.
I'm professional.
Loving it there. So, go on. You want to go first? Who do you have at number 5?
I do in fact have Enzo and D Swiskas. I don't have a whole lot to say. He played a solid game. He had a special Victini, which was really cool in this matchup. But one thing, pay attention. That's the first thing. Just pay attention to what happens. Victini running out of PP is just something that you can prevent by just looking at your 3S and seeing, oh, there's only one PP left. I have to switch out next turn. So that's just something which led to the beautiful struggle Victini. The best Victini, if we're being honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Timid
I think
struggle.
we can all agree.
Because nothing's immune to it, so clearly the best decision. The bit of recoil, nobody cares. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean he was unfortunate with that because I think a couple of things, like he didn't have PP max on it, and of course just the way that battling on the DS works, you click the move, you're locked in. You don't have a chance to sort of take it back if you realise. Even if it has no PP, it doesn't give you the option. It doesn't say you have no PP left. It just locks you into struggle automatically. So that's more sort of a foible of the device rather than Enzo himself. But it's just that case of just paying attention to the little things.
Yeah, it's nothing big. Why is the game so stupid?
Why indeed?
This is why we play Showdown.
Yes, very much so. Because of course their cancel button is absolutely flawless.
Yes, I mean, it has been working better recently. So.
This is true. This is true.
So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. He played a solid game against Josh. He played it well around the threats. And Victini is Victini, and it put in work still.
Yeah,
so
very much so.
That's all I have to say. I'm going to leave the rest to you because you have him higher, which means you have all kinds of praise for him.
Yep, absolutely. But my number 5, I'm going to have Kyle and the Blastburn Rovers.
4, by the way, so we can just...
Yeah, he is your number 4. The reason he's not higher on my list simply because of the performances of those above him. I didn't see too much reason to be moving them down. So Kyle going to be sitting at number 5 on mine, and just what a team!
Yes.
Bringing the Manual Sun. The difference really between him bringing Manual Sun and Jello bringing Manual Rain is the fact that Manual Sun just worked for Kyle.
He had a reason to run it.
Yeah, he did. The Life Orb Tangrowth and the Scarf Typhlosion were going to be putting in huge amounts of work in the sun.
Yeah.
He saved it for the right time. You know, he got his setup first with the extra drill looking for the rocks, which was something he really wanted to have. He managed to keep them up well, despite a dubious matchup versus a nice Torkoal set, which was a matchup that Sizz won. But after that, he was just able to get the sun up and go into his ridiculously heavy hitters. What was unfortunate was the fact we didn't see Tangrowth.
Yeah,
which I was really looking forward to. As soon as I saw in the team building that it was Sun Offense Life Orb Tangrowth, I was just like, oh my god, I need to see this do things. But unfortunately, it didn't. It didn't hit the field, which was a shame. But it was a nice idea, a very nice idea to have. bringing Manuel Sun was really excellent.
Yeah, and we're just gonna move on to number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Kyle. Hey, surprise! Totally didn't mention that before. Anyway, Kyle had a very, very clear game plan, which was nice. He was like, okay, I'm gonna weaken things with Memo, or just maybe win with Memo, depending on how things go. Or I'm gonna do it the other way around and start with my son, weaken things that way, and then let Memo clean up, which is kind of what happened. Either way, he had something that can weaken things and something that can clean up in late game. So, very straight game for him. I kind of was questioning his team because, it was very offensive, but he was very confident about it, so, okay, that's cool. Yeah, he was very, very confident about his team, and it worked. He played it perfectly, pretty much. And that's why he moved up by, I think, 1 spot. Yeah, 1 spot in my rating. So, yeah, Kyle, once again, being a beast.
Yeah, very much so. Very deserving of his high spots now that he's been sort of moving up through the rankings. And my number 4 is going to in fact be Shardy's number 5, and that is Enzo and the Swiskers, of course, as we mentioned, taking the 2-0 victory over Josh and the Kentucky Kecleons. I liked his team building choices. When you look at Victini, you see base 180 physical stab, and that's what people tend to really try and prepare for. That's what Josh was looking to try and prepare for. But Enzo, 1 step ahead, bringing special attacking Victini with Blue Flare, which was, a very good decision. And as far as preparing for his opponent's physical fire type was, he had that down with Cofagrigus, which was a very nice set as well. Cofagrigus, just a brutally tanky wall. It just takes hits for days and days, and it's very difficult to break down. His opponent, Josh, not having too much in the way of special defense, meant that he was able to put good work in with Victini and Thunderous. Thunderous was always going to be a threat. Mm-hmm. We mentioned that slight issue with the PP of Blue Flare. And one other reason that was unfortunate was it wouldn't have mattered if he hadn't missed one. Earlier on. So, victory start coming through with that accuracy boost, or so it seems. But yeah, that Blue Flare miss was unfortunate because he lost 2 PP for nothing. Then getting off the subsequent one, but that by then he was out and he didn't realise. But, he rallied well. Following that, I mean, it could very easily have knocked someone for 6 where they lose one of their premier special attackers to something like that. It could have been very demoralising, but able to rally well and sort of get himself right back into the game. And yeah, just a very solidly played game. Mega Venusaur can take a stab psychic from a Mew. I didn't know.
I'm not surprised.
I'm fairly surprised. Mew's powerful.
But it's a Mega Venusaur. It just doesn't die. Mew.
I mean, either way, it was still nice to see something that can take a stab psychic from a Mew in any case. Especially when it's a super effective hit. But yeah, a very well played game. That slight lapse of concentration was made up for almost immediately afterwards. So yeah, just a well played game from Enzo.
I can agree.
So yeah, back onto number 3 on our list, and I think we're back on parity, are we not? With number 3 on both our lists being Bice and the Twin Leaf Tyrants.
Yep.
Coming in off the back of that 2-0 loss in that big sort of top table scrap with Anima and the Golden State Dragons.
Yeah. This was not him moving down. This was someone else moving up, which you can kind of guess who it is.
Yeah. Very much so.
One person moved up rather than him moving down. He played a really good game. At the end, there was just this 50-50, which cost him the game.
Yeah.
He's tried to speed creep the Hippowdon, which crept a speed creeping Conkeldurr.
Yeah,
which was beautiful, and I had all kinds of erections.
That was so good. Just the fact that he was running Taunt Conkeldurr, and I didn't even know it got Taunt. Just the fact that he was in no way expecting Anima to speed creep his speed creep.
Yeah.
Especially when it's not like it was even like something trying to outspeed a fast thing. It was 2 slow things battling for speed.
Yep.
Which was fantastic.
That's why I always put 4, 6, whatever, 6, 4, 8 EVs or whatever more in speed than I need.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case something is being cheeky.
Maybe 12, 16 for my future opponents. You don't know anything. Shut up.
There it is. There it is. But yeah, he didn't play a bad game at all. You know, he had some very nice builds. I thought he played Mega Pidgeot well around the whole Bisharp Hippo switching game earlier on. And he was timing his moves well for the Defog. Defog, always a risky thing to run when Bisharp is sort of sniffing around. But he timed his moves well. Seemed like he was a bit in the head of his opponent at that point. But then, of course, it gets to the end, and just that massive 50-50. Anima just coming out on top there, going for the big high jump kick on the switch to Mega Pidgeot. Could have really gone either way, that one, you know, on a different day. One of them might have made a different decision. Bice absolutely did not play a bad game at all.
Yeah, not at all. But I still think he should have gone for Icicle Crash instead of Knockoff. He realized that right after he should have gone for Icicle Crash. But that would have allowed him to just pick it off when Ice Shot, I'm pretty sure. So that whole thing would not have happened.
Indeed.
So yeah. That's but yeah, Bice played a good game, and it's just our number 2 moving up. And our number 2 is
nice words. Sitting at number 2 is going to be Gabriel, the bearded wonder himself, and the LA Galuxray. Of course, with that big, enormous 6-0. I think the first of the season.
Yep.
Over the Highland Houndooms. To be honest, there isn't actually all that much to say about him. He played he played a good game. He didn't do anything spectacular, but he didn't really need to. Jedi was bringing the weird sets, and the thing is, they didn't quite work simply because Gabe was just able to make safe plays and just had a very solidly built team.
Yeah, he had team matchup in this case.
Yeah,
this is the kind of games you want to have as a battler in a league, especially. You just have the matchup. You don't have to make risky plays. And it's he didn't do anything that was necessarily risky or anything. He made all the necessary plays and nothing special. And that's all he needed. You don't have to make flashy plays.
Yeah,
that's something a lot of good players preach.
One thing I did like about his battle video was as he was going through the Highland Houndooms team, he got to the third mon, which was Mr. Mime, and he went, and third is Mr. Mime. Moving on.
Yep.
Obviously not a massive fan of the Mr. Mime, not considering it to be too much of a threat, and it didn't it didn't do so well this game. But yeah, Gabe just played a very strong game. He's a very strong player, evidently, and
and even better at preparing.
Yeah, he is. I think he's possibly one of the best preparers, and as far as team predictions go, that is a massive strength of his. He just always seems to be on top of things. And there it is. Knew you were going to say that. He does. He's a very, very strong team builder. And that is just a testament to that. The fact that he's currently sitting at 5-2, really strong position.
Indeed.
Which means that you can obviously guess who it is going to be at number 1.
I'll see it on screen, but shh.
Well, there is that too. Right back up at the number 1 spot, going to be Anima and the Golden State Dragons. Sitting at 6-1 after that 2-0 victory over the Twin Leaf Tyrants. Some nice sets that I really enjoyed. Scarf Bishop is not something you see every day.
Yeah.
Which was a cool idea. I also like seeing Hazards on Greninja. I do enjoy it when people bring Hazards on Greninja. Again, not really necessary in this particular matchup. They never really came into play. Greninja was brought into play a lot, and Anima knew that Greninja was very important, managed to play it very well, I think. And a very nice use of Bishop to counteract King's Shield, which is, it's easy to remember that you don't just spam Defog when there's a Bishop around. But of course it's easy to forget sometimes that King's Shield is equally, abusable by Bishop, who has nothing to fear by going for the big attacks on it.
You lose nothing.
You do lose nothing. I do think that Anima did use Bishop a little bit recklessly at times. Took huge damage. I mean, I suppose there was nothing really she wanted to take damage other than Bishop at the time, but I still think it was used a little bit too recklessly and could have maybe been saved for another time. But other than that, once again, a very solidly played game.
With that amazing big play at the end.
Yeah, that was a huge play.
Realizing what you had to do to win.
Yeah,
getting into your opponent's mind and.
Yeah, I mean, going for the high jump kick on a Weavile, which could have bopped her, But knowing that the switch into Mega Pidgeot was coming, an excellent prediction on her part definitely allowed her to win the game, and maintain that excellent record in this league so far.
Yeah, I think it was a necessary play, not like unnecessary flashy play like I mentioned before. No,
yeah,
what she had to do to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that I think is pretty much going to conclude things for this week's power rankings.
Yep.
So thank you all very much for joining us today. We do hope you have enjoyed. As we said at the beginning, and as we continue to say, these are entirely our opinions. Do feel free to leave your own in the comment section down below. Let us know what you think, how you think the power rankings are in your minds. Let us know who you think is looking strong, who you think isn't looking as strong, and indeed who you think, as we are getting towards the tail end of the proper season, who is going to be looking in the best position to take those playoff places? Who do you think is going to be there? Let us know. We are always very interested to hear what you guys have to say. But again, as I say, that's going to be it from us. Schady, any last things to add?
Frito, please get good. I wanna shit talk you properly.
Yeah, Shoddy's running out of things to say.
He's beating up an old man right now,
He's running out of actual shit talking to give to Frito, with that sort of tailing off of his season already. So Frito, get back in the game, man. We believe in you. I guess, kind of.
Yeah,
maybe.
We kind of do.
Alright, well, as I say, that is going to wrap things up from us. The next time you hear from us will be on Tuesday, when we'll be back with the next instalment of the Union News. Until then, battles will be going on late as this week continues. They'll be up sort of around the weekend, so make sure you look out for them on the individual coaches' channels. And yeah, as I say, we'll be back on Tuesday. So, our final thank you for joining us today. And with that, we're going to get out of here. So, see you later, TBU fans. Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.